All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Adam Berezin from MSDW. I want to thank everybody so much for taking the time to attend today's session, The New Power Couple in Business Central Finance, SignUp Software and SKsoft. This event is going to be presented by Morgan Prengler of SKsoft and Bob Monio of SignUp Software. So before we get started, just a couple of things to note. If you have any questions during the session, please feel free to type them into the chat box, and our presenters will get back to you via email after the session ends. I'm also going to be recording the session, and it should be posted to MSDW within the next day or so. So without further delay, Morgan, I am going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Adam. Greatly appreciate you having us today. So Bob and I are going to be talking about our new partnership in Business Central between SignUp Software and SKsoft. We'll be talking about a lot of exciting topics today. We'll be looking at the chat at a later date and answering your questions, but let's get started right into the agenda. So we'll first go into the landscape of the CFO today, setting some context because there's some interesting trends that really ground why our solutions are particularly running well with a finance team. So we'll be going into some background, some trends, and then we'll go into why do we have the partnership in the first place. There's some great history already between our organizations that we'll be leveraging. And then we'll be going into our solutions of what are the features and impacts of this joint solution together with SignUp and SKsoft. So we'll go a bit into our solutions, and then we'll be going into a great case study in the end. And then we'll be ending off and seeing what questions you guys may have as well. So I'll give it to Bob, and he'll start us off on setting the stage for everything. So over to you, Bob.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Morgan. And it's good to talk to you again, Adam. And welcome to everyone who's joined us here today. We've got an action-packed agenda, as Morgan just went over with you. But my part is really to sort of set the stage for why did we do this? What brought this power couple together? And I got to say, there is still unsettling times out there. And for business owners, customers, partners, lots of concerns over what's taking place in the market. And it's putting a lot of pressure on each of the various players. We're seeing delays in projects. We're seeing project start times being put off. We're seeing holds put on new opportunities just due to these unsettling times. And it's putting a lot of weight on our customer organizations. And we as two companies coming together have really begun to focus on ways that we can make this easier for our customers and for our partners in getting into these new opportunities and dealing with the unsettling times as they are. But that being said, this reality has to be faced. And when you face reality, what you learn is, what can I do about it? And naturally, the reality is staring at us right now. When you see tariffs out there and what it does to the economy, when you see bad actors and fraud, the number one issue for our customers is fraud. And fraud is something that has to be dealt with. So there's a lot of people that are scared about what's happening with it. And even more and more reports coming out as we see where bad actors have stepped in and companies have had to pay an awful lot of money due to fraud and other issues. We also know that high interest rates are still a problem, and there's a lot of uncertainty with what the Fed is doing these days. And on an international basis, anything that happens does definitely impact our businesses overseas and other areas, because both SKsoft and our company, SignUp, are international, and therefore we face this with our customers and our partners on a regular basis. But it puts a lot of weight on the CFO. The CFO now has become responsible for building a self-funded finance operation, and therefore they're looking at things that they can do to manage their capital, and cost reductions, vendor consolidation, all of these things come into play. The level of responsibility is increasing for the CFO, and they're rapidly looking for tools and technologies that can make this process easier for them, because at the end of the day, the company will not survive if they cannot manage their cash and their spend. So it's one of the top issues for them that they face. So CFOs have been talking to us and we have been responding, because what they're doing right now is they're looking at implementing plans that preserve that capital and increase the supplier DSO, or days outstanding. And they're cutting unnecessary costs. And as I mentioned earlier, putting projects on hold. The other thing they're doing is they're applying tighter lenses to solution providers, which means as they look at them, they're going to say, are you a tenured partner? Are you a partner that is tribal and knows our industry? And are you absolutely focused on risk and fear to help our organization? And with that going on, we know then full well that CFOs now have to respond and have to do certain types of things in concert with this, which means that they also need solution providers like ourselves to step up and provide the right solutions for that. That being said, there's a number of things that they're also putting under tow. And Morgan, I'm going to ask you to kind of talk about those a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I think as the landscape that Bob described, it's allowing the CFO, the role itself, to change and to morph to become more of a business partner role. So they're looking at a couple of different projects, priority areas. First off, the modernization of the finance function. So they're looking at particularly how do we get from manual to automation in the areas of finance to drive growth as a company. That also ties in well with the second point of unlocking ROI. So are there existing technology that they can leverage and reinvest in, or perhaps get more value in? That's going to be a priority area these CFOs are looking at. Another development, I would say, is this ESG regulation. We're seeing this predominantly in the EU, but now it's a reality in the US, where finance teams are also looking at how are we able to commit to our sustainability standards and also track them. So this is a new solution area that we're looking at. But also as well, I love this next point, practicing trust as a discipline. This is something I see particularly in the banking area, is finance teams when they're looking at projects, deploying new software. Also, they're looking at, is this going to protect my information? Data breaches are significantly affecting companies, small to large. And so this is something they're looking at, how do we protect our information as a long-term business priority? And last but not least, beyond protecting that information, they're looking at how do I have a business partner, particularly an ISV software vendor like SignUp and SKsoft, and how can we grow with them and trust them because they're the subject matter expertise in this area. So these are all together what is setting the stage for why is a company, why is a CFO looking at our solution sets. And I think really, Bob, you're going to next go into the responsibilities the CFO have, because now as it's growing, it's so much, honestly.
Absolutely. I mean, the CFO, as you've just been highlighting so well, has a tremendous amount of pressure being applied to them today. In fact, the CFO has become probably one of the most important people in the organization, sometimes even more important than the CEO is to the board, because in managing their cash, they have to look at across all the operations and activities that are going on, the transactional processing areas of what goes on with record to report and purchase to pay and order to cash. They have to focus on what's happening in the business decision area and making sure they have the right controls and other things in place so they can address fraud and other activities that might be coming up. But they're also working on external reporting, because oftentimes they have outside shareholders or other types of funding sources that are supporting their firm who need to know that this organization is going to be able to weather the storm, so to speak. So again, back to why did we come together? Well, as an organization, we can focus on record to report and order to cash, and certainly that's something that SignUp does do. But in the area of purchase to pay, this is today one of the most crucial areas to be able to wrap their arms around if you're the CFO and really get control over what's going on and make sure that that spend management is now in play, because spend management really does contribute to that capital preservation set of aspects that they're dealing with. And so purchase to pay is a key area for us, and it's the area that we noted in talking with customers and talking with partners where certainly having the types of capabilities that SKsoft brings to the table, and also what ExFlow is bringing to the table from SignUp, is a natural marriage of two strong behemoths in the market, and being able to put this forward and make it happen. So net, what we've done is we've now introduced a joint organization that brings the combination of SignUp with the ExFlow accounts payable solution that today is used by literally thousands of customers around the world, together with SKsoft, who has their secure bank communications and vendor capabilities and other things that are being done at a bank level, all that security that you heard Morgan speak about, and combine them into what is now the complete or most complete procure-to-pay solution for Dynamics 365 Business Central on the market today. One that customers can turn to securely and ultimately be able to put their spend under management by leveraging these two tools together. Now, you might be saying, if you haven't already know this, why SignUp? You know, I'm from SignUp, and I talk a lot. I've been selling a lot to the BC market space, but it's important to note that SignUp's been in this business for a long time. We are tribal with our customers and our partners in the sense that since 2000, we have over 4,000 global customers of all sizes that are using our solution. And we're processing literally billions of invoices through our solution. And we've been focusing on completing all the components that a CFO would need around procure to pay, order to cash, and record to report. So I think together, and I think this will be something that now we'll hear from Morgan echo, is that our joint mission is to make sure we're delivering that unparalleled software and support services to make that happen. Isn't that right, Morgan?
Yep, for sure. And I think that resonates with our mission as well. We've also, very much like SignUp Software, we've been in this space for a long time. 30 years, which is, we're actually coming up on our anniversary in September, which is great. And with that, we have a wide set of customers, 1,600 globally, from small businesses to large. And what we've actually found, we've actually had a strong relationship with SignUp throughout the years, and we were a reseller of SignUp Software and the top reseller of their software in North America. So this joint partnership meant really the next step in our relationship, I would say. And it allows for us to, together, we have seen this firsthand, to have the most comprehensive set of solutions that we have, from AP to AR to cash management. So that's what we'll be focusing on today, is really when you look at all of our solutions together with the features in Business Central and what we brought to the table, there is such a common ground for our solutions, but also they're bringing solutions to the pain points that CFOs have been talking about for years. And now they have a one-stop shop where they can go to us and they get the expertise. For example, the industry expertise is phenomenal across the board. For us, both of our practices, we have Business Central implementers that are now a part of our practice building our software. Along with that, we have a mission across the board to have best-in-class solutions built embedded within Business Central. And you'll see that in terms of our interface and what that looks like. But along with that, we are scalable organizations that we've been working in the space from small to large, but also US and beyond. Actually, SignUp, you guys have a really good EU base, just like us. And so we can really speak to the CFOs all across the world. And that really resonates with our solutions. But I think one of the things we actually talk about, Bob, significantly is throughout our solutions, we have security and controls embedded throughout our solutions. And that is actually one of our top priorities when you're looking at our software. Together, when you deploy both solutions, you're going to see that ROI. You're going to see the time savings, you're going to see the cost savings, and most importantly, the efficiency where you can move into the value add activities that you should be prioritizing as a team. And you'll see that in the way that we approach our software. So together, there's this optimization of the cash conversion cycle. So CFOs, you're going to get that cash visibility. You're going to get that increase, this being able to better manage your processes and have that power ultimately when you deploy the solutions. But I know, Bob, I think it'd be great to go into next, like, what does SignUp look like in Business Central, and how does the flow work? Because I think we set the great groundwork for this, but love to get into more details.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I mean, this is probably one slide I think that tells the entire story here as far as what this brings to the financial process automation area inside an organization. These are all key golden nuggets that are necessary for the organization to succeed in today's testing and trying times that I talked about earlier. But Morgan's right. When you start to talk about where the solution is and how the solution's been structured, these are things that people understand. And I think she pointed out very adroitly that when it comes to the knowledge base about procure to pay, both organizations have literally over 25 years of knowledge in this particular space, experienced personnel who understand how businesses are operating, and in turn, making sure that our software and the interconnectivity that connective tissue, so to speak, that brings all of these things together in a seamless way so they can control their cash management position, are intact. And that's exactly what we've done. And this is a solution that now today with ExFlow providing all of the core components necessary here to address what's going on with the payable as it proceeds through the business, from the point of taking the actual document in all the way across and handing it off to SKsoft for the processing of the payment and other activities. It is today the end-to-end spend management solution that customers are looking for. And we know that because we've seen the immediate business growth that's been coming from it. That being said, just a quick snapshot of what that means. Everybody always looks at where are my invoices coming from, and they can come in via paper, which is still predominantly about 60% of what is out there in the market today, or they come in electronically. The key is to understand that we can capture it, we can handle it, and we're the only solution on the market today that does full header and line level recognition, bringing this content in with amazing success rates on all invoices that are there, a learning engine that our customers are telling us is just phenomenal. They don't have to go back and recode, create new templates, or do other types of things. It is now something that the system is doing automatically for them. And because it is AI built with AI first technology, it's delivering what customers are looking for in that space. But once you get the document in, and as you can see an example of it on the screen, we're also adding a set of validation and verification intelligence. This intelligence allows the actual image or the invoice to be looked at and in turn be able to be matched, understood, and a number of different checks and balances done to ensure from a fraud perspective that it is a valid invoice before it is handed off to Business Central and ExFlow for processing purposes. So we're putting a lot of pieces up front that typically in the past would have required an individual to sit there and look at that invoice and validate that invoice and verify that invoice. We're letting the technology work for you, which means now you can return that individual back to a more high profile opportunity or work effort, which is better for the business overall. Once the invoice is in, we'll then go in and actually do some of the coding. This is also part of that individual's job. Usually they would be coding the invoice, and we can do both pre-coding and also auto-coding with AI-based coding suggestions, which improve the overall performance of the system as well, because we want the AP process in procure to pay to be autonomous for the corporation. And this no-touch functionality is what gives the cost per invoice improvements that customers are looking for. And if you're a CFO, that's where you wring more money out of the business and start to turn it into a profit center, actually, from that perspective. Now, of course, where would we be without having market-leading approval capabilities? And we're using agentic AI to be able to do this. We've got approvals engines that are probably the best in the business. In fact, Microsoft often routes customers to us and say, go talk to them because they've got the right engine for this. Now, we can do this both at line level, as well as also we can do this in a flexible way, which creates predefined workflows for going through and processing that invoice. Of course, there are dynamic ones that are done based on dimension and also based on project manager or person responsible roles, or of course, who the purchaser is. So it is the most complete approvable set of capabilities on the market today, all built from an agentic AI perspective. Of course, we also do take advantage of three-way PO matching. Many customers come to us and they say, can you really do a three-way match? Absolutely. And we can do this against multiple order and receipt lines. We can do it across multiple invoices. We can do a lot of different types of functionality. I'm not going to read this to you here, but again, the proof is in the pudding. And this is the area that most customers will focus on because invoices today can be very complex. And the system has to be able to support that. And that is exactly what they're getting from ExFlow in this area. Now, we do have also contract and agreement matching, because there are some invoices that are reoccurring, such as telephone, electricity, building, all kinds of things that require an ongoing contract to be renewed. This is something that our system can do for you and help you be able to manage that contract, do the approvals and other things that are necessary, as well as trigger contract management notifications, so that if an approval needs to be done to update a contract or renew a contract, the system can help you with that. And that's something that you don't find on the market today from many other providers. Of course, we do also get into then, once we've gone through and done the approvals, we've done the matching, we've done everything necessary to get the invoice ready to be paid, we then will step into final posting. And it's here then that we'll actually post the invoice, get it ready for payment, which is on the money. We'll turn it over to our friends at SKsoft and what they're bringing to the Business Central area. But you can go back in and you can look at all of the records associated with the payment process, approval process, anything that had to be done from a change or an audit perspective. Very important, because as we all know, we usually have our businesses, especially if you're a public business, they do receive regular audits. And as part of that process, you want to make that process as easy as possible. And when you do that with a system like this, it helps your auditors. They come in, they get the job done, they're able to move on, and it means an awful lot as far as your overall auditor bill. Finally, also, we do introduce accrual reporting. So for accruals, this is something that many customers are very excited about. When they see the report, they're like, oh my gosh, I wish we would have had this a long time ago. So with accrual reporting built into the system, you now have a completely fully functional set of capabilities for managing the invoice process up to the point of the posting and getting it ready to be paid. Now, one thing I do also want to share is that ExFlow comes with a full set of powerful analytics scorecards. These scorecards are designed to help you manage the business and in turn understand what is happening with your invoicing process. Not many products out there address this. In fact, it's usually the last thing that they even think about, but oftentimes it's the first thing that a CFO is thinking about or a controller is thinking about, especially when they have to be able to monitor and understand the health of their business. So these tools are readily available, and they're built using Microsoft's Power BI. And of course, you can accentuate any type of data with these types of tools. And from that standpoint, it is the richest set of capabilities that customers need in order to understand what's happening with their business and where they're going. Now, with all of this being said, this very powerful set of tools that help you take an invoice from the time of ingestion all the way through to the point of payment, of course, then you want to be able to even further accelerate the process of getting the payment made to the supplier. And this is where SKsoft comes in. And I'm going to turn back to Morgan and ask Morgan to go to share this with you.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Bob. So after that invoice is posted, then that is where our vendor payment automation solution takes up the rest of the process. So I'll start here and then work my way through our full solution set, because it is comprehensive and covers everything regarding banking automation in Business Central. So for vendor payment automation, we populate the payment journal utilizing the invoice data that we're getting from a solution like SignUp Software. And what clients are able to do is automatically transmit their AP payments from Business Central utilizing our solution. So they're able to send a variety of payments, ACHs, wires, outsourced checks, virtual cards, And that's actually a significant differentiator with our solution, because not all solutions can send the variety of payment types particularly, and also in the same payment file as well. So we're able to do that in Business Central, directly send that to the bank utilizing our connection. I'll go into what our connection looks like, that framework, in a second. But going on further for payments, there's also a significant change that we have done with the standard process. And this is one of many features we have in the standard, the workflow we've built for vendor payment automation. So for standard Business Central, you have to send the remittance advice before the payment is sent to the bank. And this is very confusing, honestly, because you're notifying the vendor that the payment is sent when it actually hasn't been sent. So our software sends the payment file before the remittance, allows for the user to get back a acknowledgement from the bank. Is this a good payment or a bad payment? And then correct, and then retransmit the line. So it allows for that void capability quite easily, because it keeps the journal open and you don't have to unpost. So streamlined significantly compared to standard Business Central. For bank statement integration, this is something I'll go into a bit further later on as well. We utilize the connection that we have, set up a bank feed with the bank, bring the bank statements into Business Central, and then we're able to do automatic matching using our custom rules. This is actually one of the things that our clients love, is because standard BC matching rules are just not great. They're not going to get you to where you want to be, and you can't set up rules specific to your organization in the same way that our solution can. So we can set up many-to-one, one-to-many matching rules, allowing for you to get as customized and deep down as you want to be, and set up those rules per bank account. Because as you know, each bank account will have its certain set of quirks that you have to figure out and have to set up accordingly in Business Central. Along with that, our solution will be able to have automatic missing transaction creation. This is great because it's thinking and setting up these transactions in the bank ledger area so that you don't have to think about, did I miss entering in a bank fee or an interest fee? So it's thinking for you and it's anticipating. Along with that, we have a powerful solution set with the addition of Pause to Pay and Cash App as well for Pause to Pay. This is great if you send checks. I highly recommend it because a lot of people forget about Pause to Pay. So what we do is we automatically transmit the Pause to Pay from Business Central to the bank. And we do that at the same time you send out that payment file, so it can be scheduled, one and done setup in the beginning, and then you're notifying the bank of the checks you're sending out. So at the end of the day, it's really thinking for you, and it's not something you have to anticipate doing. This is a goal of our solution, is how do we have automation empower you as an organization? Along with that, this is soon to be released. We're working with our first set of clients internally on this before full release, but cash application with lockbox processing. With this, we're able to bring in customer payment data like a lockbox file or unstructured data into Business Central, and then your customer payments are going to be automatically applied to invoices that you have out there for your customers. And then there's going to be a set of match rules it will go through for the application, and these are going to be in the same way customizable as our bank rec rules. And also you're able to see in one easy to use workbench what has been applied, what hasn't been applied, and go from there. And then post your cash, and then that allows you to get right onto your bank rack. But the foundation of these solutions across the board is BankFabric. So I would love to go into that next, because this is something our clients, they don't have to think about it, but it's there. It's empowering their solutions, but also allowing for automation and security at their fingertips because of the way that we operate. It's built off of Microsoft Azure, and it allows for clients to automatically communicate to their bank via an SFTP or API connection, We have hundreds of connections, and we'll work with you on developing the right connection approach. And that's our goal here. Is we've been connecting to banks also as long as we've been working in the ERPs that we have been in. So we have that knowledge across the board. So what that looks like is you're completely embedded within Business Central when you're sending out that payment file, because BankFabric will pull that payment file from BC, encrypt it, and store it within its environment, and then transmit it to the bank. But this happens in a matter of seconds. There's no downtime or anything like that. But you have the security there because it's not downloading on your local user hard drive. And that is a security risk if that happens. It's a fraud risk. People can manipulate those files. And there's just a whole lot of pains in general of keeping those files on your hard drive. So we eliminate that with BankFabric. Along with that, bank statements has a different flow. We're pulling that from the bank. Same thing with Cash App. We're bringing that data into BankFabric, encrypting it, then bringing it into Business Central for you to complete your processes. So going next into vendor payment, the workflow with BankFabric, I love to go into that next because this is one of our top selling solutions. And this workflow is something that resonates well with finance teams because of how truly easy to use it is within Business Central, because you'll be suggesting vendor payments with our solution. Then with BankFabric, we're creating that payment file, but then there's an easy to use different protocols you can have if you have a bad payment. Typically in Business Central, you have to unpost completely in order for you to retransmit that payment line. If you got back from the bank that it was a bad payment, maybe you typed in something incorrectly, like a vendor bank account name or something like that. This allows for you to keep that journal open, fix it, and then retransmit it. Then the remittance advice is sent out. So really easy to use workflow. And our clients will say that as well, because it allows for them to not have to take days to make payments, but really matter of minutes. And it's streamlined significantly. That's the same thing with bank statement integration. I'll just go into that workflow really briefly, just so you see what I'm talking about. We're allowing for you to do a daily or weekly or monthly bank reconciliation, but with that feed, bring in your bank statement automatically, feed it to the bank rec page, and then you're able to match on a daily basis the bank statement transactions to your ledger entries. And our clients have been able to they're using our automatic matching up to 100% match. Sometimes on the first try, it all depends on the data. Like I say, I'm not going to guarantee anything, but we have significantly high rates with our solution. And you're able to see that you're able to complete your reconciliation in a matter of minutes, which is amazing. And then you're able to post. But altogether throughout our solutions, you're seeing the efficiency and the automation that you need as a finance team so that you can just block out all the noise and focus on what you should be prioritizing. And then when you combine it with SignUp and what Bob talked about, man, it is a powerful solution that is just going to be empowering finance team. And I think we see that with the case study we have. So I'll go into that next. Because as you see with our solution set for banking automation, we cover the areas of AR, AP payments to cash management, but then you have SignUp coming in with their powerful Office of the CFO solutions like AP and expense management. And Actera, one of our clients, saw significant time savings and value add from deploying these together. They were looking for a one-stop shop, essentially. They wanted someone that could handle everything all together, and they came to us and they saw that they could see us as a trusted business partner that they could have for years because of our expertise and what we provide to the market. Actera, for some background, they're a $2 billion farmer-owned agricultural cooperative, and they're one of the top 10 grain cooperatives in the USA. So they're quite a large business. And they were looking at how do we get ourselves from manual to automation, but also they were just struggling with legacy systems. So they look to us as how can we fix those pain points and modernize and consolidate their AP and banking. So we deployed the AP automation and then our banking automation together as one, and they didn't need to look anywhere else. We were able to reduce significantly the approval of 70,000 invoices. Significantly, I mean, that's a lot, right, Bob? I mean, that's insane. I think they were able probably to get it down to, I think it was taking them days before, and now it's just a matter of hours. So, which is really great. But along with that, there was such buy-in from their CFO and Director of Application Development, John Kane, because of what they were seeing across the board. They were able to see efficiencies and usability to their employees, but also the CFO, what he was prioritizing is, I just want my team focusing on the right things. And that's what we've been able to do, is they were able to focus on value add activities and then save time across the board, which is achieving his priorities as well as an organization, which is really great. And I think that really resonates with what we're trying to achieve here as a partnership, right, Bob? And I think this confirms like one of the reasons why we're probably the best power couple in the BC space. And I'm so happy that we're launching this together, right? So
yeah, you hit the nail on the head there, Morgan. And it's real interesting in the sense that so many of the proof points that you were just talking to are spot on with what a CFO is really looking at right now. These are key items that they need to pay attention to in order to make sure that the success of their business continues. And no matter the size of invoice processing, the size of the organization, it's the connection of these two organizations, SKsoft and SignUp together, that can bridge the gap of all various sizes and globally be able to deliver what's necessary to them. Because many of the customers we work with now are multinational, and they need to be able to work in other locale around the world and be able to process their invoices and work with their suppliers and customers there as well. The good news is that after both of us being in business as long as we have, it's tried, it's tested, and the ROI that they need to see is there. The security, because we're running in Azure, we're running in Business Central, we're taking advantage of the connective tissue within those organizations and within those businesses. It really does then meet the key goals that they want to see. And we have the proof points to show that we can optimize that cash conversion cycle and the spend management goals are being met. So it really is the one-stop shop for their financial needs. And I know we have literally hundreds of success stories like this that we can point to between our organizations. So I'm extremely excited about what we've done here. I know our businesses are, I know our customers are, and I know that we see a very, very, very strong future here as we move forward. And interestingly enough, I know Microsoft sees this as an exciting time as well for what we're doing and what we're able to bring forward. So we're excited to talk about it today, and we're even more excited to take your questions as they may come up. Certainly, we both together want to hear from our listeners and hear from the people who have been with us today, but understand you're going to see more of us out there in the market, and we're going to see more of us speaking about these things as we bring customer stories to the forefront so you can understand how others are surviving those things I spoke about earlier in our discussion today. So Adam, have there been any questions in the chat panel at all?
No, we'll give people another few minutes, or let's say a minute to kind of collect their thoughts.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yep. Sometimes we get questions after the session.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and that works too. I think both Morgan and I are willing to, and we'll be sharing, as you'll see here. We share our email addresses with all of you. We're more than happy to take your questions, so please reach out to us. We do definitely want to help you. You know, being a power couple and coming together like we are, we're now working together to deliver the comprehensive and complete solution that I shared and talked with you about earlier. So please do reach out to us, or if you post a question here in the chat panel, I know that my friends at MS Dynamics World will post that to us, and we'll get it right back to you right away.
Yep, for sure. Well, thank you.
Yes,
Thank you, everybody.
Yep, thank you. And remember, we just look at it this way. This is our goal of making the best, just keep getting better. So we're excited to talk with you today, and we're excited to share this information and look for more of it coming forward from us here as we now move into this future. Thank you, Morgan. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you so much, Bob. Yep. There's more to come, right?
There's more to come, that's for sure.